Eighth episode opens with a flashback to Tarvalon 10 years ago. Elida emerges from the red doorframe that Min saw in her vision. She looks pleased. Alviarin scolds Elida for taking such a risk by striking a deal with an elfin. Many sisters have walked through that doorframe, never to return. After this, we see the hall vote on who should be the next Amyrlin seat, Siwan or Elida. Moiraine watches the proceedings from afar. Siwan gets the majority vote, much to Elida's ire. In the present, Elayne voices her concerns regarding the White Tower declaring for the Dragon Reborn. Siwan claims that if they don't, they'll lose the last battle. How does Siwan know this? Elayne insists that this will only drive a wedge between our Amyrlin seat and her daughters. Elayne suggests they put this to a vote, have the Aes Sedai decide if the tower should support Rand. Meanwhile, in the Isle Waste, Rand mourns the loss of Alcera. He still owes her a tow. Egwene informs him that the Wise Ones are waiting. Elsewhere, Moiraine tells a captured Samael that he'll teach Rand everything he knows. Later, Liandrin asks Chesmal and Jean if they've found Ispan yet, whom Moghedien killed. They assume Liandrin offed her like she did Naomi. Jean toys with a ter'angreal that purportedly creates balefire. Like an irritated mother chastising her child, Liandrin orders Jane not to play with something so powerful. Moghedien brings Liandrin the second cuff. Now, all they need is the collar, which is at Panarch's palace. After this, Nynaeve and Mat spot Liandrin with her crew departing for Panarch's palace. Nynaeve notices that she now has both cuffs. At the palace, Liandrin orders Chesmal and Jean to search for the collar. Then, Rand waits for Lanfear in his dream. She reveals she sent Samael as a surprise for Rand and planned to have the Age of Legends general teach Rand. Rand reveals he knows Lanfear tortured Egwene in her dreams. He claims he's leaving Lanfear for the same reasons Luz Theron did. She's jealous, petty, and cruel. Lanfear pivots, officially turning against Rand and showing her true colors. Egwene arrives and makes the Forsaken vanish. Rand and Egwene wake up. It was all a trap. After this, Rand, Egwene, Moiraine, Lan, Avienda, Bear, and Moiraine brace themselves for Lanfear's return. They all, save Lan, start channeling. However, when she doesn't, Moiraine urges Rand not to assume he's the only thing she wants. Sure enough, outside, Lanfear approaches Melindra. She needs Melindra to do something for her. Meanwhile, Nynaeve, Mat, Min, Elayne, and Tom Merrilin arrive at Panarch's palace. Nynaeve assumes that a Forsaken manipulated her and Elayne's memories and stole the cuff. Elsewhere, Moghedien visits Samael in the Ael Waste. Samael tries to strike a deal with Moghedien. However, she's more interested in torturing him. Next, Ruark takes his clan to Alcair Dal, where Rand will present himself as the Karakarn to the Ael. Avienda encourages Egwene to choose her own path, even if that path diverges from Rand. Her destiny is her own. When the Tardat arrive, they see the other clans are already waiting, including the Shido. Lanfear approaches Savannah and Couladin with a proposal. They don't want that wetlander declaring himself the Karakarn, right? What if he had a challenger? Lanfear gives Couladin the requisite dragon tattoos on both of his forearms. Now he can persuade the Ael to follow him. Lanfear really is petty. Varen informs Siwan that 8 Red Sisters have departed the tower. Their trip wasn't sanctioned. Siwan orders Varen to tail them. Later, Nynaeve spots Liandrin and pursues her. Elayne and Tom search for the collar. Tom regaled Elayne with an anecdote from her childhood. She's amused but doesn't recall Tom being part of Queen Morgas's court. He admits he left court when she was 5. Elayne remarks that his departure preceded Lord Gabriel's arrival. Naturally, Tom doesn't know who that is, and he kept a close watch on the court for years. Then, Jane attacks Elayne and Tom with the ter'angreal that produces balefire. They flee. Mat spots that infamous red doorframe. Min tries to stop him from crossing through it, but to no avail. He lands on the other side of said doorframe to find an eelfin. The eelfin tells Mat in Old Tongue, "By the ancient treaty, here is agreement made." Then, the creature asks Mat about his need. Outside, Min searches frantically for Mat. Chesmal appears, so Min goes into hiding. Elsewhere, Liandrin storms into the space Nynaeve is as both hunt for the collar. However, after Liandrin storms out in a huff, Nynaeve hits the jackpot. Liandrin assumed it would look like an obvious collar based on her drawing. But Nynaeve, who has experience with the Xiantian, knows better. She pockets a ring that's actually the collar. Later, while Tom and Elayne hide from Jane, they chat further about Gabriel. Gabriel isn't who he claims to be. Tom warns Elayne that her mother and the Lion Throne are in danger. Then he urges Elayne to run. He squares off against Jane, but before the latter can deliver a fatal blow, Elayne uses the T'Angriel on Jane. The balefire essentially vaporizes her. Meanwhile, the Eelfin informs Mat that he has 3 wishes or needs. So what is his need? Mat notes a familiar smell emanating from the Eelfin. Then he yells that he needs to stop getting bollocked by every magical force on the planet. Mat is sick of the one power. Done, the Eelfin states. Next, the Eelfin offers to take the memories racing through Mat's mind that aren't his. So, that's need number 2. Mat finally recognizes the Eelfin's smell, the scent of the fox den by the old wisdom's house. It was always full of dead things. Mat voices his 3rd and final need, to get the fuck out of there. Relatable. The Eelfin remarks that it's unwise not to set terms or a price. So the Eelfin will establish the price that Mat will pay. How ominous. Suddenly, Mat returns to the room in Panarch's palace. He's hanging from a noose, just like in Min's vision. Chesmal finds him. Min knocks her unconscious and cuts the rope from which Mat hangs. He's not breathing. Min tries to blow air into his mouth. Then she repeatedly smacks his chest until he wakes up. He pokes fun at her for kissing him, claiming there are easier ways of doing that. Mat comments that while the foreign memories are gone, he doesn't recall how they got here. There are certain things he can no longer remember. We see a necklace around his neck with a silver fox pendant. Uh-oh. Outside, Nynaeve anxiously awaits her friends. However, she reunites with Liandrin instead. Liandrin orders her to hand over the collar. When she refuses, Liandrin wraps Nynaeve in chains using weaves and takes the collar from her. Then, she tosses Nynaeve into the sea. Nynaeve sinks to the bottom because there's also an anchor attached to said chains. There, Nynaeve thinks of her daughter. She recalls what she told her daughter during her life with Lan in the Arches. Suddenly, Nynaeve channels, removing her chains. She also parts the waters like Moses. There's our girl, our badass channeler. It looks like she's one step closer to moving past her block. Later, Melindra tries to kill Lan per Lanfear's instructions. Lan senses her presence, though. He wonders when Melindra became a dark friend. Melindra claimed it was in the name of reviving Malkyr, but she now sees that Lan is the future of Malkyr. It's alive through him. She refuses to murder him, thereby breaking her dark oaths. Lan realizes that Melindra's spirit will die with her, never to be reborn. She perishes in his arms. Elsewhere, Rand tells Moiraine that he finally trusts her, despite her collaborating with Lanfear. He knows it was only to ensure he wins the last battle for the light. Now that Rand and Moiraine are on the same page, Rand must win over the Ale so he can have his army. Moiraine admits that it was smart to come here instead of going to Tyr. Meanwhile, Varen and a few sisters find the Red Sisters' camp. Galena declares that Siuan can't prevent the Red Ajah from doing their duty, which is to keep Varen out of the tower. Sure enough, a coup d'etat is transpiring in the tower. Siuan is brought before Elaida, who reveals that the sitters ruled by a unanimous vote to depose her. Elaida also accuses Siuan of being a dark friend and of thwarting the tower's mission to cage the dragon reborn. For this, Siuan will be stilled. So, the sitters and Elaida do just that. It's heartbreaking. Siuan collapses when it's done. Then, Liandrin meets with Moghedien now that she has both cuffs and the collar. She proposes they work together. Initially, Moghedien scoffs at this. Why would a Forsaken want to work with an Aes Sedai, Black Ajah, or no? Liandrin persuades her, though. They can cage Rand together. Elsewhere, Lanfear and Ravin find Samael's body after Moghedien's fun torture sesh. His blood looks like a spiderweb, so points for creativity. Lanfear reminds Ravin that Moghedien came for the weakest of them first. They must band together against her. Later, Couladin presents himself as the Karakarn to the Ale in Alcair Dal. Rand challenges him, asking what he learned in Ruidian. Rand states that his father was Janduin of the Iron Mountain Sept, clan chief of the Tardad. Born of the blood, but not raised by the blood. He reminds the Ael that the clan chief sent them to the wetlands to search for him, where he was raised. Rand declares that he is the true Karakarn. Then we see Siwan on the floor of the hall, bloodied and beaten. Alviarin, who's the keeper now that Elaida is the Amyrlin seat. Elaida arrives. She claims that Siwan must answer for her crimes. Elaida knows that she's been working in secret with Moiraine for 20 years. She believes Siwan knows where Moiraine and Rand are. Elaida asks Siwan to give them the truth. The truth is, I love Moiraine. I have always and will always love her, Siwan starts. We see Moiraine power up the Sakarnan to signal Lanfear. Lanfear sends a blast toward Moiraine, knocking her down. Siwan explains about her and Moiraine bearing witness to Katara's vision 20 years ago about the Dragon Reborn, and they set out on a mission to find him. Meanwhile, Rand speaks of what he saw in Ruidian, his ancestors for starters, and that the Aiel used to follow the way of the leaf. Those in attendance at Al-Khair Dal are bewildered by this reveal. Ruark urges Rand to stop, citing that his people aren't ready to face this truth. However, Rand was born to destroy the Aiel as much as save them. So, he calls them all Oathbreakers. Outrage ripples through the crowd as those within it immediately take opposing sides, spears raised. Elsewhere, Lanfear chokes Moiraine, getting ever closer to fulfilling one of the many visions of the future Moiraine saw in Ruidian. Rand claims that if the Aiel don't follow him, they'll die. Sion continues delivering her speech, reminding the Aes Sedai that the world is changing. They can no longer pretend they have control. Moiraine finally gains the upper hand, slamming the sand in a blast that sends Lanfear flying backward. Lan steps up to assist, his sword brandished. Lanfear regains her footing and blocks Moiraine's blasts. Then, Lan slashes her thigh with his sword. Next, Rand recites the prophecy of the Karakarn before demonstrating his channeling abilities. Can Couladin do that? Nope. Moiraine and Lanfear battle it out in a visually stunning sequence. Just two queens trying to kill each other. The Aiel watch as the weaves Rand creates turn into what resembles black smoke, curling upward toward the heavens. At the same time, Siwan's speech continues to resonate, well, at least with us viewers. For Elaida, it hits a nerve. Lanfear grabs Lan's sword and stabs Moiraine in the gut. She twists the blade with delight. I am Aes Sedai, Siwan declares. This means her words are true. She cannot tell a lie. She warns the sitters that if they stay, they'll burn in the tower they claim to love. Siwan won't, though. I defy you, she proudly tells Elaida. Alviarin sends a blast of power Siwan's way to silence her. We learn that Siwan's sentence is death. Suddenly, Alviarin beheads Siwan. Moiraine feels Siwan die. It's a punch to the gut, even with a sword fixed through it. In grief-fueled rage, Moiraine fights back against Lanfear. She takes Lan's sword, now engulfed in weaves courtesy of the One Power, and slices Lanfear in the neck. This doesn't kill the Forsaken. Instead, Lanfear escapes. Lan holds Moiraine as she sobs. Meanwhile, Rand's channeling brings rain to the Aiel waste. He's destroyed them with the truth, and now he'll save them with rain. Ruark shouts out that Rand al'Thor is the Karakarn. The Aiel start to bow. Elsewhere, Nynaeve, Min, Elayne, and Mat head back to Tar Valon. No Tom, though. They see darkened skies in the distance. Elaida moves into Siwan's quarters. In the Two Rivers, Fael, Bane, and Chiad scope out the base of the White Cloaks, undoubtedly to save Perrin. Rand, let go, please, Egwene calls out. Rand looks at her with a darkness in his eyes as the weaves appear to consume him, covering his face.